Good afternoon. This is the House Appropriations Committee. It is Wednesday, February 26th, 2025. It's a little after 1:30, and we are going to continue to look at the web report and see if there are any items that we can close. Committee letters are due today, and I don't think we've gotten any yet, but that's okay. The day's not over. We left saying we were going to skip over the 300s, which is all the human services related categories, because there's a lot that is being done there. And so I believe we are picking up with the whole 400 series, of which there is exactly one, the Department of Labor, and that would be Mike Nigro. Do you have any insight into that?
Yeah, there are a couple small things I'm still checking on.
Okay.
The biggest difference here is just the retained grant, which was the 4 million. Other than that, there's not a lot, really significant changes.
Well, the retained grant, not that they retained a grant.
No, it was the retained grant,
Right.
which was a $4 million. So that's part of the reason that it's down from last year. That's the biggest part of the reason it's down from last year.
Okay.
Other than that, it's little things. So I don't know if you want to wait for me to get the little things, or
Well, do we may get confirmation from the Commerce Committee, right? They would have.
Right. Yes. So I guess we can.
So we can hold up, but it's good for us to know what it is we're waiting on.
Yeah.
Wayne, do you have a question about that?
No, not about that, but I just wanted to be honest, we did skip over all the 300s because we got some little ones of mine and.
Oh, okay. Well, let's finish this one and we'll go back. That's great. Okay. So why don't we just confirm? It sounds like you're kind of ready to close it, but we'll
See where
what
Commerce
the Commerce
is.
says.
Sure.
Okay. Okay, Wayne, so we'll jump back. I forgot that those were in the 300s
Yeah,
here.
go to, I'd say, go to 344, 342 is Veterans Home, but I still communicating on that.
Okay,
That's it. But 344, retired senior volunteer programs. They get the cost of living 3% of whatever.
right. So that's on page 34, B344.
Yeah.
We can close that. Okay.
And right before that,
Yep.
343,
Oh, it's at the bottom. Yes.
Yeah.
Commissioner Newman.
and I think we can close that.
Okay.
I can meet and respond with it.
Okay. Excellent.
So
Right. Yeah. We'll close that.
what was the number that you mentioned?
Mine is,
342.
44, and then Mike had 343, and 343 on my sheet starts at the very bottom. So sometimes I miss it.
Right.
The bottom. Page.
Did you close 342?
No. No.
That's
244. We just did 343 and 344.
Go and add one to one of my 300.
Okay.
Adversely, no changes in it. Find it now. We go back to 300. It's easy to start there. Okay, still, I'm waiting to go through a couple of these things. Like I said yesterday, most of them are collective bargaining, payroll, and then okay, there's no changes at all.
What B number are you talking
B305.
about? Oh, okay.
This is an administrative fund.
Oh, yes.
And there's
Okay.
really nothing different. So I would close that.
Okay. AHS Administrative Fund B305. Pretty good with that? Okay. That's it. Okay, good. Hey, every little bit.
Veterans Home, what is that?
Wayne.
Did you?
I never asked for it,
Yeah.
and I didn't get what I wanted, so I just emailed it back a few minutes ago asking for it.
Great.
Okay. Actually, I could go back to 303 and 304, B303 and B, these are the boards. The Developmental Disabilities Council, again, it's only pay act increases, and then other normal operating expenses. So that's 303, and I would say I could close that.
If people are right with that, any questions? Dave, you're good, okay.
And then 304 is the Human Services Board. Again, it is only pay act increases and other personnel increases, and the same for the operating expenses. It's all the usual and normal. And they really aren't any very big anyway.
Okay, that's great. So we can close B 304 unless somebody has an objection. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, now we're going to go to we did labor and now we're in education. I'm thinking we're probably going to leave some of these open, Mike.
Yes, the agency is not contesting the governor's recommend, but there's probably some things we should talk about as we go along.
Yeah, I think it's premature to do anything at this point. Yeah, and we will hear. And we have to, you and I should chat about B504 adult education literacy, because the amount needs to take in what we did for budget adjustment. You know about that too.
Yeah, I know, yes.
Well, maybe the three of us will have a conversation. That would be great. Yes, okay. Right.
So all of the five,
We're gonna hold open.
Yeah.
I think a lot of things may happen in the world. And just so you know, B505, the adjusted education payment, that's the roll-up of all the school budgets. So we can't really do anything about that. That, like the mixing bowl, are the ones that, you know, we come in at the end.
$1 billion, almost
$2 billion.
$2 billion.
Yes. Yeah. So some of these others may be,
Your money.
we're probably merger support grants, we could maybe close, but let's just wait till we hear from education on all of these. Yeah, we're gonna hear.
Like a stimulated amount people. Madam Chair,
Yes,
go back to 503.
state place students,
I think that would be something worth having.
503.
Oh, 505.
Can't help you there, Jim. Go ahead, Mike.
I think that would be worth having some conversation about.
The state place students, do you want to say a couple words about it now?
I can. I mean, a lot of that is paying for students in state custody. We're getting, for lack of a better term, shipped out of state. We theoretically have stopped shipping our corrections people out of state, but we seem to be shipping more under the guise that we can't provide for them here. And it started with New Hampshire, then New York, and Pennsylvania, and now it's Mississippi, Arkansas, and there's I think a cohort of kids that are not being served in state. And what happens, from my perspective, it makes it harder for the kids to be connected with their family at all.
Yeah.
It's harder for family services. They have to, once a month, they have to visit every kid out of state.
That sounds time consuming and expensive.
So I just wonder, if we might be able to ask some questions about whether there's a better way to do this.
Uh-huh.
Is this because we don't have a facility here? What?
It's not necessarily, well, it could be, but these are children with extraordinary special needs. And coming from real tough situations.
But are they juveniles that have had criminal issues?
No, these are
Okay.
his cases where they've been removed from the families for various reasons and
Okay.
we might even get Matthew to speak to this because we talked a little bit about it and spoke with the child advocate, but I can't help but think we can do a better job of serving them, just continuing to ship them further and further away out.
And are these folks that are in DCF custody?
For the most part.
Yeah, Tom?
How many?
That I don't know, and this would probably And it might not be all of that, but I think this is state-placed students around and we're spreading them further and further afield. Maybe we need to hear from family services.
Yeah.
But education is paying for it.
Right.
It's theoretically. But this, I think we could find out some
A
more.
little bit more. Okay. Wayne and then Lynn and Dave, did you have a question too?
Well, I was assigned the task once of reading the case file of all 50 children who were out of state at the time, because the then Secretary of Human Services said, bring them back. And I would never put that on anyone again, just these are horrific trauma. Fire starters are mild, but there are some children who are fire starters and you can't find a residential care home that would take them. So I was just nodding my head because it was bringing me back to another time. And so people have taken a peek at these and it's healthy to do that. But it's hard to find, the number moves between 30 and 60, but there's usually, I bet everybody a cup of coffee, it's 50 something. But anyways, don't have anything more to add than that, other than, people have looked at this before, it's a tough one.
So pretty horrific cases.
It's always,
Pretty,
I won't go into detail, but
right, no, that's not appropriate, but
not appropriate.
Yeah, so it's
You can imagine.
83 student,
Yeah, it's
83,
in
okay,
residential. programs.
okay.
Would it help if I contacted both of the commissioners and just asked them to meet with me?
Yeah, why don't you have a meeting? And I don't know if anybody in education is following up on it at all. You could check with Chair Conlon and see if there's anybody from there that ought to be brought into the conversation because it's part of education. Yeah. I think, it's a good flag to raise and we at least ought to understand it maybe a little better. Yeah. Wayne and Lynn?
So I'm curious, I mean, if their budget's less than what it was, I'm curious as to why the budget's down. And we didn't get any testimony on this that I recall at all on this issue.
They didn't spend much time and
So,
they didn't spend much time on it.
representative. The other, that we don't want to mess up something and we could cause more trouble than we.
So I think we start by understanding.
Yeah.
And then it may be, okay, now we get it.
I'm just curious why the dollar value dropped from 19 million to 17.
It may be the number of students. Lynn?
Yeah, there are programs, and I believe somebody mentioned this, one of the people we had in here, maybe it was DCF, about the Project SOAR type programs that we have in St. Albans is placed, it's a combination of mental health agency, the DA agency, and it provides education at a school in St. Albans called the SOAR program. And I'm just wondering if that's included in that. I think those are state-placed students, but they're not residential. And I can't remember if they said that was included in it, but.
Yeah, I think that may be the extraordinary expense thing.
It's over and above extraordinary expense.
Right, and the first 70,000 the school pays for, and then the state pays for the rest or something like that. But I think that's a different situation than this, but that would be something Mike
And
can
maybe a step above the school, but quite a bit of a step below that.
below this, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, thanks for raising the issue, Mike. Okay, and thank you, Wayne, for moving that. I just got a little text. I guess we should look at the camera every once in a while and see. Okay, so we'll keep at this point, everything in education is up for grabs. Maybe not the teachers' pension plus funding. Maybe we can close that one, Mike.
Yeah.
B 513. Okay. That's kind of a commitment that we need.
That's the 15 million.
That's the, yes,
What's the numbers?
B 513. I have it at the bottom of page 38. And then the same with B 514, 514.1 and 515.
Yes.
Okay. See, we're making progress. And that's education. Now, well, pre-K-12. So higher ed is John. So we are on B600. I have it on page 40. I don't know the number. Some people may have different versions. of it.
48.
Okay,
They request something additional to this.
yeah, that wouldn't be in here though. That would be.
No, I know, yeah.
Yes,
They came in, I had briefly connected with the folks there, just happenstance here, and what they gave us was this one-page flyer, which talks a lot about the kinds of things they're doing, but there's no numbers attached to it, so I know I had asked Aaron to reach out, because I spoke to them soon after they were done, and they said we should probably get some numbers to it. I said, that'd be great. So I know Aaron's reached out to their finance person to send something more to it, just so we have some information beyond.
yeah, they do that every year. That's what we get.
That's what I
Uh,
know.
But it's minimal.
And they talk a lot about the good things they're doing,
Right,
but we don't have any numbers. So
right. But it's just, right, it's
It's
just.
just a wait till I get
Okay.
that and see if there's anything else.
So it's a 3%, but they asked for $1 million for Tech Hub grant joint with Global Foundries, and they asked for 5 million for this cancer center designation, which they've asked for in previous years. So that wouldn't be in this budget. It would be in one time.
Right.
So they asked for $6 million.
So my hope is I'll get that this week.
Okay, great.
Just hold on that here for a moment.
Yes. And then the state colleges.
State colleges, I did meet with Sharon Scott, way prior to them being, they gave a presentation. I think they've worked really hard to try and make things as whole as they can. moving
Yeah.
forward. Not needing fringe funding, they've got the last bit there. I know they've got some capital projects, so you'll hear more about that at some point.
The capital projects will be announced committee in Commerce and Corrections Institutions.
So maybe we'll see something in whatever letter we might receive.
They also asked for another $1.5 million for something.
That was because they were promised 1.5 in the deal that
Right.
there was resistance to the $5 million for 5 years, and we're getting to the end of that.
Yeah,
And it was suggested in the Senate that we only make it 3 million. But it would be 1.5 in the 25 budget in the base, and 1.5 in the 26 budget in the base, to get us to a balanced budget, to a zero, get rid of the structural deficit.
yeah,
That's
The problem is, of course, that the governor didn't put the 1.5 million into
Right.
his recommendation. And it was promised by the Senate, and it was included, it was a package. So,
right. So that's a reason to keep this one open.
yeah,
And that's part of the $181 million in budget asks that I have.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see if,
Yeah.
if not this, then what, or,
right, exactly.
so we'll keep that open.
Yeah.
Okay. And the allied health is just a thing, it's their health, so. Yeah, we switched the way it was done last year, which saved money.
would be for their allied health courses. And
That's part of
They got
that's their allied health.
Right, it got switched because of they got global commitment money for it. So that's probably okay, John, you think?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, at this point.
Okay. B603. And we have VSAC.
Yes, so VSAC, if you recall from Scott and Giles' testimony, 3 of their primary grant funding programs are up for current review right now, all at the same time.
Yeah.
So, and they're paying close attention to that to try and track to see what that may end up being here. They've got pretty close contact with the folks in DC about that, and they've got favorable support for that there, but we'll have to kind of see what that looks like.
Yeah. They also, it would be one time, but they asked for $10.1 million.
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah, and I did ask Scott about that, and I want to have another conversation with him about that again.
That's another, just a reminder, every time, we have a budget ask, something has to come from. The governor took all the money and put it in the budget. So any bill that comes any other asks, we have to find the money. So, I'm just sort of, you all know that, but I'm kind of making it public.
I was very open with Scott when we met, he and I both met, prior to, and, he explained this is a new initiative here to kind of piggyback on the 802 opportunity program here, and they've had great success here with
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Clearly.
So
So they're successful at what they do when they do receive the money.
there's no
But it's a
question
lot.
about it. And
It's a
really,
lot.
all of the asks have merit of one form or another.
Absolutely.
And we're gonna ultimately have to make some hard decisions.
Yeah, and I give them a heads up that, but money's tight this year, so.
Yeah. Yep, okay,
So we'll just keep that.
great. So we'll keep that
Keep
open.
that open for now.
And flexible pathways, that's sort of been the same every year for a couple of years. So we good with that?
I'm okay with that.
And the New England Higher Education Compact?
Yeah, if you're getting information about that, I don't have any.
Maria, did you know anything about that?
Yeah, it's an agreement, I should look it up here, but, there's some programs that are not offered in the state, and there's an agreement, that Vermont students can attend other schools and have, like, for instance, that program, I think that was one of the examples we used here. And Vermont students could attend the out-of-state institutions, state colleges that have these programs. And I believe there's some tuition, I'm not certain if I did know that. It's really interesting, this same question, I should know it by heart, it comes up all the time because it's very unclear, from the name.
So this helps with tuition and things like that.
Yeah, for programs that are not offered in the state.
Right.
It's a mutual agreement between the New England states,
That's
so
right.
if you want to study pharmacology at UConn, we pay the in-state tuition, I think it's for Connecticut rather than an out-of-state tuition for Vermont, because we don't offer that course. And the same would hold true coming here for something that we offer that they don't offer.
I
Yeah,
remember going to one of their meetings years ago when I was an academic dean. That was a long time ago, first kind of pulling that together.
Yeah.
I have the
so-
states, I'm sorry, the
No, go ahead.
states that are part of it are Connecticut, Maine, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, and Vermont.
Okay. It sounds like New England. Hence the New England Higher
It's like New
Education.
England,
Compact.
And it's the title.
I know New York's not really considered.
No, not New York.
Yeah.
So Maria, if you have something, a detailed piece of evidence there, I can get that or where I can find that.
Yeah, let me see, if this will. help.
We do the same amount every year, so I think we could probably close it and you can just educate.
I'll just,
Yeah, okay. And I will tell you, the Morgan Horse Farm, we add $1 every year.
I think that's a deal.
So if you're okay with that, we're gonna add $1. Maria will get it.
Yes. For sure.
Yeah,
$1
okay.
in the cup over there.
Yeah, Jim's funding the Morgan Horse Farm over here for a couple of years.
Taking care of it.
He's taking us on a trip to Puerto Rico.
Robin's willing to share.
Oh, now you're doing it again. This is for every time he calls Aaron Robin.
Right.
He just did it.
That doesn't count. I knew I was doing.
Oh, okay. All right.
That's perfect.
All right, that's higher
I
ed.
think that's it. That's it.
Okay, thanks, John. Let's go to natural resources. Trevor, you're on.
Okay, most of these are gonna stay open.
Yeah.
I'll go to the ones like,
Okay,
B 701, state land, local property tax. What's that?
oh, okay. B 701.
701. And, yes,
Okay, thank you.
then I would go to, 708. North access roads.
Okay. That is that money to keep the roads operable or maintained or something
Yeah,
like that?
essentially.
Yeah,
Balance. things like
yeah, okay.
business.
Looks like a standard amount every year.
Yeah, I don't know that it's ever changed in my experience working with this.
Okay,
And the rest of them need to stay open.
yeah,
Too many questions.
yes, and too much potential from Washington. It's been-
Yeah, and we have a number, well, language is different.
Okay. Thank you. That's the 700s. Let's go to the 800s. Community, commerce, community development. Okay. So that's 800,
800, and then I did
801.
have a question of what is the, like, there's two 801
Yeah.
here. What is the removed economic housing community development?
Maria was
What was that
going
again? Okay, I'm sorry, where are we?
we're in 801.
Maybe last year. Well, 802 is down at the bottom of my page.
And has different
Yeah,
numbers.
it's Zero
So what,
fiscal year.
Oh, it's just, I think there was, there were some of these appropriations were moved around, so, we had the same issue last year, I'm trying to think exactly what it was. That word removed is, doesn't belong there, but our reason it's there is why I still have to unpack, I think it has to do, it's related to page 802.
right, because this says B801 as does the one above it.
Yeah.
And
no,
then
that's right.
802 is
It's-
zeroed out in the governor's rep.
Yeah, it's, you know what, okay. I'm just gonna own this, this is just a thing that the staff needs to sort out, and I'm sorry that was in there again.
Oh, yeah, okay, so, right, so if we merge the governor's rec with
Yeah.
802,
That's right.
we have the right
That's
information.
right. It's just, if we just keep having this problem.
I don't know why they would duplicate 801. Why wouldn't you just leave it in 802?
Well, that's the mistake.
That is the error, and you are correct. And we are going to make it so good, and hopefully we can sort this out, so we can keep happening every year.
Right.
Okay.
Well, if I
Excellent.
can get, I mean, I will be tracking them down too, but if I can get an idea of what that money is, that would be good.
I think that's TIFs, because if it's housing and community development. So the governor's rec and that 801 removed is 802, should really be an 802. The personal services possibly went down from 7.6 million to 6.9.
Yeah.
So. And I assume you're going to keep those open.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
And I have 806, which is still open.
yeah, okay, and then Wayne,
I have 808, as council, I think we should close that. There, these next few are all be possible.
well, the Arts Council is the one, isn't that the one, Maria, where we usually look at giving that we try to do the full match?
The full match, right, for the national. And now.
Right, so we usually end up giving them a little bit more to do their full match, so let's hold off on that and remind ourselves what more they might need to get that full match. It would be probably, do we do that usually in one time? I think we do it in one time.
We have done it both ways.
Okay,
But I need to find out what that number will be.
right, they told us when we were here,
That's
but
in there. That was in the budget.
it was in your budget.
That's $60,000.
Yeah, it's not usually very much, but we try to give them the whole match in general.
Symphony Orchestra,
Probably fine. I don't think we've done it. I think that's what we usually do. People good with that one.
Historical Society.
Yeah, and I didn't hear any requests for more from them.
And then, oh yeah, 811, it's not mine.
Right, 812 is yours though.
812.
810 when I check off or?
Yes.
810?
But not 811. But not 811
That's the 808.
8,
and not 808.
812, I think is probably fine too.
Humanities Council? Okay. Any questions on any of those? Good, okay.
I would, my memory of the Humanities Council is a little bit on the federal side too, they question, so whether we
I mean, I wouldn't close it completely.
Right, there.
None of it's closed completely until we get to that. So we may find out more information and,
We may find out that some of the federal money
Right.
could be a problem, but.
right. And if we don't find out on this side, the Senate may find out too. Okay. So now we're in transportation and I think we're going to hear Transportation Committee should be sending us their recommendations. So John, I don't know if we want to kind of wait to get the committee's recommendations on all the transportation.
I think so, yeah, I had,
Yeah.
with Matt today, too, they're putting their letter together, maybe some extra asks in there, so.
Okay,
just wait till we get that.
okay, that sounds good. I'm just writing your name on everything here. There's a lot of them.
Yeah, there's quite a few categories there.
And then. It was helpful having the talk yesterday, I think, about the JCAP transfer and what transportation is
Yeah, absolutely.
to understand that better. So that was
That was
good.
a real pick me up.
Yeah, yeah, it was good. We may be having more of
Sorry, I
those.
don't mean to joke.
Well, no, it's true, and we may be having more of those, so
Yeah, I
real
know,
jokes
I
are gonna
know.
come in handy as we go along, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lynn, tell us about debt service.
Debt service.
That's in the treasurer's office,
Yes. Where are we here?
B 1000.
Yes, we have, well, he said we had 600 million this is when he was here, so we had 600 million in debt service. That's bonded indebtedness. Not sure where the 75,000 comes from, but that was when we were talking about paying back the 14 million
Yeah.
or that we had borrowed for the flooding and that we were gonna pay him back. But yeah, that's what we have, and he seems to think we're doing fine.
Yeah.
We've been shrinking I suspect we could probably close this because we've been shrinking the capital bill in the past few years. And, obviously there was a recommendation by the governor for a cash capitalization fund that would relieve the debt fund and the debt service that we have.
I guess my question is not knowing what is going to happen with the BAA and that money that was removed from the earmark for future debt service, does that change this 675 at all?
That I don't know. I'll have to find out. I have a whole bunch of stuff now for treasurer because there's all sorts of stuff.
1,000, this is just, no, they just pay.
Just the
This
interest.
is the annual, it's the same amount every year. I don't know if Maria has more information on the debt service.
That would probably be the interest they owe for the payments. 600 million is their total.
Right, right. This is just what we
So
pay every year.
it won't change anything?
We're asking.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm
That's
looking at the account, I'm still, that number on that was 68,737, but.
Okay, thank you.
But, I'm sorry, where are we? right
We're
now?
on B 1000 debt service.
So the question I rose, Maria, was depending on what happens with the 14 or 20 million that was earmarked for future debt repayment that may be removed, does that change the amount we appropriate for, I guess, this opinion?
I think this was. I believe that the amount that we raised prior year appropriation, I think that is not.
Not what's projected for next year?
Yeah, it is this, it's an appropriation. B 1000 debt service.
Yeah.
This is 675,000.
Yeah.
So the full debt service amount is not this amount. Full debt service amount is this big transfer, bill. Section, in the language section of the bill. Every last year, it's been appropriations. Okay, yes, D 101, from the general fund to the general obligation bond, debt service bond, this is the $81.15 billion. Page 17 of the language.
Okay,
So this, I believe, is just the administration piece of it, like, you know, do the work in. Let me find out exactly what this is, so I don't tell you something wrong, but it's not a big.
no, this been the same amount for like, I think every year we've done
Yeah,
appropriations.
it's not the.
I'm fine.
Yeah.
I didn't need to ask a question here.
No, you can ask a
That
question.
helps, that helps.
So the question is it advisable to leave it open, or can we say, okay, this is what it costs to administer it? It's
Right.
Well, if it is, I mean, question I have is, we have to pay interest payment on those bonded dollars. And so where is that? That's not this, this is.
That's not this, with
administrative fee?
the 81.5 million is what we actually pay out to bondholders. Oh, that's being in here.
Oh, yes, this is, yes, that is, you're correct on that, that is the,
It's the payout.
payout. Back to the section there.
So that payouts, so each year, and you got 20 years of bonded dollars out there. So each year we pay out the one at far end,
Well, we pay out for whatever
whatever that one
the
is.
time of the bond, whenever you pay them out, depending on their term or whatever.
Principal and interest. Well, same,
Yeah.
I guess, so each one of those comes off each year, so there's
It
probably not a
depends.
separate line item for interest, it's probably all.
It's all-
Pay those bonds, so.
That's right.
Well, we'll have Maria confirm
Let
what
me
this
leave it
is.
open and I'll
Yes.
check, because it sounds like this is just the administrative cost of managing that.
Right, right, and it's been the same amount for every year, so we'll just get clear on what that is, so thank you, Lynn. Okay. The B1100 section, how do we do that without, we need the language to go with it.
That's, here's the one.
So the, all these one number liberation sections, this is a list of dollars.
Right.
This would be all claims section there.
Right, so we should probably go to the language at this point.
Yes, that's actually, that's good.
Okay,
If you want to talk about.
right, exactly, so
My way.
we've gone through the web report for now. We'll check in the next 2 days if we've had things that pop up, like some of you have had, like, oh, I can close this or I can close that, we'll do that.
I have a few, I mean.
Oh, you have some more you
Yeah,
can
I've got a couple just.
Oh,
small
let's
ones we can
let's do it now, Mike.
B106,
Okay, we're on page 3.
page 3, yeah.
Okay,
We could close that. The only thing that they have is that housing, that position that's really under Doug Farnham because it's the only thing that showed up a little funny there. And then
So 106, you want to?
that was, yeah, we can close 106 and I would say we could close 107.
Yep.
Which, again, the only difference is these 3 limited service positions around the ERP that had been previously. So I think both of those are good to close.
okay. Yeah,
And maybe this one, B11, well, B111, I think is probably good to close. I have one lingering question that Maria and I are working on, but I don't think it's going to have enough of, it's not going to mean anything for this. So I
right, because this is just their administrative.
Right, no,
budget, not all the other stuff.
right. So we could close
So we can close
111.
that one. Okay. Great.
I think that's it for now.
Okay, that's great.
Is there a reason why we like one?
Lynn was asked to keep it.
I have to talk to them. Yeah, it's nothing.
It's just little reasons.
No, that's fine. We're here, looking at it, and it's without, much to change at all.
Does anybody else have anything that they want to recommend closing at this point? Okay. We'll go to the language. And we'll check in on this tomorrow.
We get any letters back.
Meeting letters? No, I asked 15 minutes ago and we didn't have any. Erin will let us know. As somebody said earlier, the 26th goes to 11:59 p.m. I didn't give a time.
Positive thought. Sometimes we get pizza when we work really late.
It's not, it's stay late.
We're not staying late tonight. There's no- That might happen after town meeting.
Connor will come down and feel sorry for us.
And we should also tell him he needs to feel sorry for us.
Yes.
Okay, so let's go to the language. And so I'm looking at the bottom of page 3. We don't need to do anything in this 8 section, but this is the B1100 one-time appropriations. So in the Secretary of
I'm
Administration,
not ready to close off. The second one is in one time, it's the truth and reconciliation, because it's a limited time frame. And that's straightforward to what it was before. The first one, trying to get some more. That's a continuation of the ideal programs. Okay, but I have a problem with the lead.
I apologize, which, you're on B,
so we're on B1100, A, Secretary of Administration.
Okay.
Yeah, Jim is checking into the Office of Racial Equity one because it's over 2 years.
It's over 2 years. My understanding is we're trying to confirm that there's only 14 million taken it.
Okay, so we want to find out more, so that's great. But the 1.1 million, we kind of have to do, right?
I think that's existing law.
Yeah. So let's check it off, and then if you find out anything, we'll not check it off. Okay. The next one's the MTAP that Doug Farnham was talking about. We probably want to think about that.
Yes, you want to think about it.
Okay.
It's not ready to
No.
recommend that. I did learn about half of that money, the last one, half of it went to the regional planning.
Right.
Some of it is going to the league. Some of it's going to the Council on Rural.
Vermont Council on Rural Development and the HCD, the READY grants, the Rural Economic Development Initiative grants.
I'm only speaking for myself. I can't be convinced of that. They are right.
Yeah.
It's pretty well spent. I'm not saying it's not well spent. It's we divide it up
Priority
like
over
that.
this, yeah.
Yeah, in terms of everything else that we potentially have.
Right. Right. I agree. So we'll keep that open. Department of Human Resources, they're coming in. Beth from CG is coming in tomorrow, is that right,
Yes.
Erin? Okay. To talk about the classification project. So let's leave that open. Okay. So Mike, this tag, we heard about this morning. This is the million, this is the $1 million section, and
Yes,
then there's the other section. And did you say you already talked to VLCT about this, or?
I
can you?
haven't, no, but I said I will.
Yeah,
Yes,
okay,
I will
and
follow up.
I would think Commerce is probably possibly also involved in
Okay.
that, so that would be good to check out. Okay. Department of Public
That's
Safety,
me.
we're back to
I'm
you.
not- I have a follow-up question.
Yeah.
on the Cybersecurity grant
Great.
matching funds.
Okay,
I understand the radio replacement, and I did talk to the department head, yeah, it was a presentation yesterday. We do need to do something, they've got it on to law. Whether it's 900 or 800 or a million,
Right. Okay, so you're checking out on what we really need to do. Yes, I think as we go through these requests, we need to think about what is it we really absolutely have to be doing, given the plethora of other requests? Some of which will have, we may really want to need to do, and some we may not, but wherever we have flexibility or can give ourselves flexibility. And so for example, I noticed you this morning were saying, well, what would happen if we didn't do it? And that's a good question to ask as you're talking to folks. Huh?
So in a case like the radios, just enough because they're fresh in my head.
Yeah.
How long have they needed radios? Like forever, right? They've always needed radios. It just strikes me as odd that they didn't have a plan, they didn't have a capital plan, which they started to talk about as if there was something that they. And I'm just curious, why didn't this get covered, or did this get covered in the governor's recommend, or is this asking for extra money?
No, this is the governor's right.
Okay.
They did two things, if I remember correctly. One is they put an amount in their base so that every year they're replacing a certain number.
Yeah, the 500,000,
Yes.
they've
And then
estimated.
this is that they're so far behind. And it sounded to me like had been relying on federal grants before, like in the post 911 era, that there was a lot of grant money out there, and that's what they were using until that dried up, and then they let it probably go on too long.
There was a lot of Homeland Security money for EMS services, like things like radios.
Yeah.
I was on,
Blanket things they were doing.
I was on this local select board during, after 9/11,
Yeah.
but there was also a proviso always in there, like, don't count on this to be repeating.
Right.
And I'm just curious now that, I mean, and again, whether we get a real answer or not, it was like, and I don't doubt that they need them, but I just find it hard to believe that an essential program like public safety didn't have a replacement program
Gotta have
for
radio.
equipment. I mean, they have it for cars, and so
Fair question.
just.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you at all. Yeah.
Just weird to
No,
me
they do.
that after all these years, I mean, you haven't heard
Mhm.
in your years, you haven't heard that there's been.
They haven't put it in, and we haven't taken it out.
Yeah.
In the past few years. So
Okay.
it wasn't there, is my guess.
Yeah, no, that's fine. It's something that if it's something that popped up out of nowhere like a weed,
No,
I want to make sure it's a flower, not a weed, I just want to make sure it's.
Well, it's a little bit like on a related matter. The last time they traded in the firearms, the vendor, and I don't know if it was a new vendor, gave them 1-for-1 training guide. They really copied anything, and maybe it was because it was a new vendor and they were anxious to get the business. I don't know the particulars, but now there's no training guide, so they actually have to pay more.
Yeah, it's interesting that it's not a baked in cost under their umbrella.
Yeah.
Yes. Any other questions on that? So Jim will do some more looking.
Yep.
And, okay. I know this diva one is yours, Dave, right?
Mhm.
And so we don't have is this also the one where, so the point of this is to do some bridge funding between getting rid of the ACO model and going to the head model? If I have this semi right. But then we don't know that it includes primary care, and that's the email.
It's up in the air.
Yeah,
The blueprint gets involved a little bit, primary care.
Page numbers.
What we're hearing is there's so much primary care,
yeah,
10 million can't close the gap.
right.
And I guess it's clear to DEVA what they want to do with it. I'm not sure it's clear to the other primary care providers.
Right, exactly. And so I know the healthcare committee's working on this, so
Yes.
we'll get more.
Hoping it'll be in their letter.
Yes, and so I've said this to some of you, but we'll probably get Teresa Wood in to talk about human services, and we'll probably get Alyssa or somebody in to talk about healthcare, and we may get commerce. There'll be a couple of committee chairs that'll come in. Lynn?
Yeah, I looked at, the 1100E is mine, because that's the central office. And E and F are really related.
Yes,
You know, there's a lot of money there. And according to the explanation, it appears that they're trying to, there's a gap in funding attributed to Medicare beneficiaries during calendar year 2026, prior to the AHEAD program. During calendar year 2027. That's basically the explanation for both of them. So I'm not sure that exactly how that sugars off, but I was planning on at least trying to find out what E is about.
yes.
They're the same amount of money. It's obviously they're doing something there.
Yes, it's different. Different amounts than some was into global commitment. So the healthcare committee is working on this. And they'll come in and that would be a good thing to talk about.
But these are distinct from the asks that have been made of us by the designated
Yes.
agencies, SSIs, the primary care providers, et cetera. Those are separate.
You think they are, we think that
Okay,
we
all right.
don't, we don't know all of what this covers. It also, there was a SASH request for 400,000 to continue maintain an existing pilot and 2 million to expand it in the Northeast Kingdom and other places. So, right.
Yeah, one of the things that we have is that the head is also, well, we need to learn more about what a head is.
Yes.
Because it sounds like it's one care, a little bit smaller, but just the same thing. And instead of putting money into an organization, you're going to insert it into existing Green Mountain Care Board, other organizations that already exist. It may not be all that different. So it's hard to understand.
I think it is going to be a little more different than maybe you're thinking, but that's on our list to get.
Yeah, we need to find out what the heck's going
Learn more
on.
about
so
that.
we understand where we're going.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, healthcare. Okay, speaking of Department of Health, I think this is is that yours?
That's mine.
Okay,
This has to do, I believe, with the schools.
right.
And it's the PCB, and I think they talked about this. There's also some things in here, because mine is just the one, G1. And that has to do with, they want to continue to do this PCB. They're not going to, how does it work? Let me see if I can find the explanation here.
Well,
I've got lots of notes.
they are gonna have, and testing, I think, is the wrong word because we have been,
They're going to do continued PCB testing.
we do not want to do continued testing. We put a pause on
They're
testing.
doing something here with, it's one position.
Yes,
Seniors for 2 years.
this is 2 years worth of a position.
Yes, and it's, and I think they did say they're not going to do new testing, but they still have to do stuff to do with the things they've already tested. I think
And so the-
mitigation or something.
The other half of it is in A&R.
Yes,
Trevor has the big money, but this is part of it. We need to understand how they work together, and they were gonna get us a list of the sites or,
Yeah, I haven't gotten it yet.
okay, but they know that
they
they,
did say there was no new testing.
right.
It might be follow-up testing, right?
Follow-up.
There could be follow-up testing on existing, but we're not starting into new.
Follow-up testing.
If that question has been answered, hopefully I would have more questions to ask.
Yes, so would I.
Yes, that's what it was.
Yes, no, we can put a pause on new testing. Testing of new sites. We might need to retest old sites.
Yes.
That is a very different story. And so one of the things we'll want to find out, and when the healthcare comes in too, is if this is 2 years, we just find it for 1 year, what's next? And then the
The
pilot is
500K,
yours.
that's, yep, and they're debating that at the human service space.
Okay,
On the goal.
okay. And probably the same, TIF, next one. There,
Yes, that
Very
is
much
the
so.
same, and as is number one, H1 and 2.
right. Question.
So did I miss conversation on G2?
We didn't have a conversation. We're waiting for Human Services to weigh in on that.
There's a lot of questions around it.
Yeah,
Right. You know, okay, let's go along as we mark the fact that there's a lot of questions.
Yes, there are many questions about this,
yeah,
Thank you.
and that's what we know.
yeah.
And then the next one,
Sorry, and
go ahead.
no, H1 and 2 are open, obviously, too, because we are waiting
Right.
for Human Services to weigh
Sorry.
And Department of Corrections, cover, except doesn't this also relate to the pilot? Are you guys talking about that? Is this the same?
No, this is not. the same.
Okay,
This is, we're doing a facility conversion of Northeast Correctional Facility to, set aside part of it for treatment services.
mhm,
But I don't have a lot of detail.
Okay.
So we can keep it open
Yeah.
and get more detail, but in my conversation, as I remember it, I don't have a problem.
okay,
It's not an issue.
great, thank you. We have a problem with the next one, so we're supposed to be getting some information from the Agency of Education on how they're gonna spend that $4 million
For physicians.
for consultants, but
Or consent.
we need more information.
$1 million position would be.
Mike, can you follow up on with Jill Briggs Campbell on that 4 million, because they were supposed to get us some information.
And, yeah, Rosie's contact info,
Oh, yes, was it?
And Rosie's contact info for the food piece.
or she, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they had a bunch of stuff they were gonna get.
Rosie.
And then turning the page to letter K, the Vermont State Colleges. We have committed to the 5 million. John, right? So,
That's in, right.
and the other one I would like to hold open in the whole
I
scheme
want to
of,
find out more about that, actually.
I know that
Well,
they've
it
used
is-
it.
Where does it fit in terms of
Right.
money?
Right, that's the
Right.
question. We all know it's a great program.
Yeah.
It's sort of, we have this whole list of things, and where does that
They
land?
want to add to that thing, right?
Well, it's in the current budget year here, not, but it's not in the FY 26 request, but it's in the
Private colleges, no.
It's not.
no, it's not.
Oh, but I think it's part of VSAC.
No.
It's not, it's so CCB did not recommend, didn't.
CCB got this a couple of years ago for critical occupations,
Yeah.
whatever that is. The point of it is, it was an attempt to kind of lower their tuition rate, but it's only one-time money. It has always been one-time money. And I think when they came in 23, they said that if you wanted to, I think it was more than $1 million. Anyway, they wanted to go and put it in the base, because you can't put it in, lower the tuition, and then
Right.
when it goes
Next year
away,
it's
then
gone.
raise your tuition.
Right.
The 802 opportunity is the VSAC money that
Right,
they used at CCB to go and throw in the last dollar scholarship for people under 75,000. And that has been the thing that has been the most successful, both for
right.
retention, continuation, graduation. This is just something the governor recommends because CCB wanted it.
Yeah.
But one of the problems this has been a problem during COVID. This is an unexpected, well, it wasn't totally unexpected. It was going to give you, I don't know if it was part of a free tuition piece, but we also have the Lois McClure Foundation money that
Right.
goes in, that also goes and gives you, if you in early college, they'll give you the next year free, and they're gonna give you the high school, college, first couple of college credits you take, a couple of courses you take, that's free.
Right.
All that's free stuff. The problem is that money is now it's confusing to people who did not have to pay tuition. And now they're signing up for CCB courses and discovering that they're in arrears because they're supposed to pay for it. And this is you can do this in any number of areas where it's been low cost or free up until.
Right.
So
Right. We have a lot of other
what
programs.
the chancellor I believe she said it here, but she certainly said it in other places, that she'd like to make this as simple as possible.
Right.
You know, too many things all piled on top of each other confuses people and it makes it hard to understand. People want to know, you know, am I eligible? Is it going to help me? And will it be there tomorrow, next year?
Yeah.
And that's what, so they did not ask for the 1 million for tuition advantage. They want to continue the bridge because that is part of the
That's our
5-year
deal, yep.
And they want to expand an 802 opportunity through VSAC to go and put that for the, because that was only for the CCV students, but they think that this would help Vermont State University.
Right.
Sure.
And that's where they'd want to put the money
Instead of here,
instead of here.
right.
I don't know how much the 802 opportunity is, but that was their request.
Okay,
And I don't know, John, you could probably look.
I'll have to ask you.
yeah,
I probably have it here somewhere.
okay,
I mean,
So-
CCV often asks for additional.
Oh, yeah,
pieces to help their
CCV
students
is-
out, which has
Yeah.
been very helpful.
And they have been very aggressive with philanthropy, with the lowest employer thing, which is also very helpful.
Yeah,
Right.
Laura's looking for money. That's the start to. And they're spending down.
Yeah, yeah,
12%.
but that, but that's something that has been a real benefit,
Oh, yeah.
you know, so.
right. Okay, so it probably won't be here. The question is whether we send it over to VSAC.
I could talk to BSAC.
Yeah. Okay, that would be great. And the 5 million is our deal, so we're gonna do that, I think, so I hear.
We need to, I feel like we need to move ahead and.
We have committed, it's the
Great-
final.
Great job with
Yeah.
reorganization.
We've committed to that every year. And next year it won't be here. Okay.
Do they know that?
Final,
Yes, they do.
Okay, good.
Trevor, right? L. Fish and Wildlife.
Yeah, the 185, this is part of the, Fish and Wildlife's going through a rethink about how they're structured,
Mm-hmm.
mostly financially, but I think probably somewhat to a governance standpoint also, but so 185 one time was given to help backfill shortage in their budget. I believe we're going to get a recommendation by Health and Environment to make that base. So we'll see what happens with that. And then the mobile portable radio equipment is something they need one time. And then down below that, which I'm okay with that, PEC, 50,000 general fund for municipal wastewater connections database and data work. The 850 general fund, this is for the AFO.
Yes.
This is the one connected to the EPA lawsuit with A&R's delegation and delegation issues with ag. It's broken down in pieces, 600,000 for actual things and 250 for a database. I think this number's a little bit of a guess because I don't know where this is all going to land.
Right.
But it's probably a reasonable number right now because I think the real number is probably higher.
It seems to me that we already put in money in the budget adjustment for it as well, or somewhere else, there was 310 or something like that.
Well, there's 300,000 in the base budget of FY 26.
Okay. All
And I
right,
think back to the BAA, I don't think we put anything in for this project in BAA.
they may not have.
I'll go back, and take a quick look,
Okay.
okay?
I feel like I've seen it in a few different places and
Yeah.
I don't know whether it's just 2 or 3 times in the same budget or whether it's somewhere else.
But those two in particular, I'm comfortable with right now.
Uncomfortable with, yeah.
Okay. The next one, which is the 9.5 million moving general
Yeah.
fund dollars to the environmental contingency fund for PCB, they say testing or remediation. I would say you probably want to take testing out of that, just say remediation.
Yeah.
But in schools, and I've asked A&R to give us a list
Yeah.
of obligated funds or money that they think will be obligated to see if in fact they actually need all $9.5 million dollars.
Thank you. Sure.
Trevor, back to, was it L1, the 185,000 Fish and Wildlife? Is that a result of not raising or not raising fees?
You know, it's certainly part of the equation, right? I mean, it's like anything else. Fish and Wildlife has only fees, license, but they also have a lot of special funds. And they rely on federal funds for those special funds that come to them. Like all of those funds, most of those have been declining. So, Fish and Wildlife is now being put in a position where their operation is not sustainable. So all this 185 do is backfilling what they think is a shortage right now. I suspect they need more money.
Thank you.
Okay.
Right, the number of fishing licenses, they've all gone down, so it's not just should the fees be raised, but it's actually the number of people who are buying and getting them.
Some of the statutes passed in the last year or two added responsibilities to go with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the next one, which is tips, we're gonna leave open.
Yeah,
We have a lot to learn from that.
Yeah.
Department of Economic Development. I have a note, this is, yours, Tom's, I think.
I'm sorry, oh,
Oh.
Yeah.
I wrote after the 250,000 for the professional colors, I said, is this the first appropriation?
it's the first one of this size. I believe they testified to that this was, after a couple of years of not of funding at a lower level, they're writing the 250.
Okay.
And then the 2 million general fund is what you asked me to check on.
Yeah.
Because they have,
A lot.
a lot of money carried forward. And I haven't heard back from them as to whether or not anything mentioned that sometimes the response is, oh, we've spent it, it might be, and I don't have a confirmation, I'm just assuming that it might fit into the category of, oh, here's this money that we've committed, but we haven't spent it yet. I don't know. But
Right, we
I've
haven't
asked, I have a
spent it.
question out for them.
Because there's like 13 million between here
Right,
and
and the other,
DEC.
right.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Right.
Yeah, the question is, what
There's
is,
a question on one.
Yeah.
Are there, I mean, that's a trade association of sort. Are there any other trade associations that the state subsidizes?
I think the health was
I don't know.
Tourism.
Do we subsidize chamber? I'm asking not to be a pain, but with every dollar, we're gonna say no to something else. And we may have to say no to things that are in here, that's.
well, or we say, here's half.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I think finding out a little bit more, I mean, it doesn't have to be all or nothing. We can-
no, you're right.
and I just
Yeah.
wanna, part of this is about helping agency of commerce understand who's out there that can bid on contracts.
Mhm.
Because they didn't have any, they need this resource in order to make clear what state contracts could be available to entrepreneurs, businesses that are owned by people of color in Vermont. And, you know, I mean, this, it's not like they have a membership. I think that this was, you know, this is seen as I mean, they have I'm sorry, they don't have big membership fees. It's not like, you know, the retail grocers or AGC or, these are usually, you know, individual business owners that are, members of this and trying to grow their organizations. And as I understand it, it was seen as a way to.
no, I am just raising the question, and this is small in the scheme of things, I'm just
Yeah.
saying, you know, there are countless organizations that would love for the state to give them a head start in terms of funding, and we can't do it. all.
Yeah, I was only saying that this was seen as a way to help the state reach more businesses.
Yeah,
I will have more
anyway.
information.
yeah, I want to say that the request wasn't created from the legislature, that it was, I don't remember. It started a few years ago when we were pros. Okay, so those are open. Les Lynn.
Yeah, I was on Commerce when they came to us initially. It was very small businesses, very small things. You know, individuals trying to get a foothold, basically. They would like to have state contracts, but the state contract system process is much more entailed than probably a lot of these individuals are able to navigate. But there are other organizations that we have in the state that we do fund through the state that are there to help young business people, small businesses, larger businesses, whatever. You know, and the question always came up is, why aren't you taking advantage of the small business development group? Why aren't you taking advantage of all the other things that we have that are available via, you know, other things that are available that are sort of part of the state funding process? So that was a question that was asked. And I think in the end, they gave them a small amount of money. And this is a big increase compared to what I think they started out with.
Yeah, so it would be good to help understand why, I assume that the agency, ACCD,
Yeah, they proposed it.
proposed it, so we can find out a little more.
Can we be on the?
We'll be on the floor.
Okay.
Yes. You weren't here when I talked about that. And I will also be requesting the committee of conference on the floor too. There's actually no bills on the calendar, so everything's just on notice. And I need to write up what I'm gonna say, so I think we'll finish up here.
You can do it, Ed.
Thanks, Jim. I'll let you know. Why don't we're just almost done with the 1100 section. We have one left, which is access opportunity report.
Yep. It's still kind of open, but there are conversations about use of, but I have to say, I mean, for fiscal year 25, they're happy they were included in the budget this year, that they weren't forgotten, and that the number was pretty much what they were.
Yeah.
So the question I will have, or the conversation is, this is a one-time expenditure, and what will it take to move that to base?
Great.
They're going to be sustained as
Okay.
an organization. We have to like, this is correct.
Right.
Okay.
So we're probably gonna do this. It's a question of whether there's gonna be anything. Right.
Yeah, moving to base, and then whether there's more this year, next year, whatever. I think there's lots of questions about the cannabis, the use of the cannabis.
Right.
So that have to be.
Okay. So, thank you. We're gonna end there. That's thus ended the 1100 one-time section. So we'll be on the floor, and I'd like to come back and just have us meet for maybe half an hour. We'll stop at 4. So come back here after the floor. I won't announce it on the floor and say, committee, come back. I'm telling you. Unless that doesn't work, and then in the future, I'll be doing it from the floor. But I'm just telling you now.
You're you're
I'll be my thing, we'll all be done. I mean, there's just gonna be the
Sure.
announcement, be the reading for Don Turner, who passed away in the fall. We're doing that resolution, there may be a couple other little things, and then Representative McCoy is gonna ask to suspend rules to bring up H-141, the budget adjustment. So we'll vote a couple of things she has to do. And then I'll stand up and request the committee of conference.
And then after that, we should.
Come back here, and then we'll start here. We'll end at 4. We also have our first committee letter in. I'd like to publicly thank the Energy and Digital Infrastructure Committee. First committee to return their committee letter. So
Was
we
it a
can take a look
postcard
at
that
that.
says you can't help us, or was it?
I haven't opened it yet. It's now posted, so if you get a chance to look at it. So thank you, House Energy and Digital Infrastructure.